You are standing in the kitchen of a farmhouse in Shipshewana, Indiana. The house was built in 1896. The drain in the sink has been running clear for 128 years. Margaret is 73 years old. She is pouring boiling water from a cast-iron kettle into that drain in 3 slow stages, waiting 30 seconds between each pour. Then she reaches for a box of baking soda that costs 79 cents. Then a bottle of white vinegar that costs $1.08. She covers the drain with a cloth and sets a timer for 7 minutes. She has never bought a bottle of Drano in her life. She has never called a plumber. The cast-iron pipes under that farmhouse have never clogged, not once, in 128 years. I asked her where she learned this. She looked at me the way you look at someone who just asked where the sun goes at night. She said her mother taught her. Her mother's mother taught her mother. They called it the hot flush. $2 in materials. 41 years of perfect drains. And the company that sells you a $4 bottle of the same chemistry in a plastic jug has known this works since 1923. In 1933, they made sure you would never find out. Here is the number that changes everything. The residential drain cleaner market in the United States generates $1.3 billion every single year. The average American household spends between $60 and $120 annually on drain cleaning products. A plumber called for a standard drain clearing charges between $150 and $400 per visit. Margaret's entire annual drain maintenance budget is $1.87. That gap, $1.3 billion on one side, $1.87 on the other, represents the distance between what drain clogs actually are and what the chemical industry needs you to believe they are. And that distance is why you have never heard of the hot flush. Here is what is actually happening inside your drain. A drain clog is almost never a solid object. It is not a chunk of food or a coin sitting in the pipe. A drain clog is a biological column. Soap scum, body fat, food grease, and hair proteins that have bonded chemically to the interior wall of the pipe and accumulated in layers over months and years until the passage narrows and closes. It is not a blockage, it is a growth, and it responds to chemistry and temperature, not to brute force. Boiling water at 212 degrees Fahrenheit does something no chemical at room temperature can replicate. It expands the pipe, enough to break the adhesion bond between the biofilm and the pipe wall along the entire length of the column. Simultaneously, the heat liquefies the grease component of the clog, converting solid fat back into a flowable liquid that gravity carries out. The thermal effect alone clears the majority of residential drain clogs that chemical cleaners fail on. Clogs deep in the line, below the P-trap, in sections the sodium hydroxide never reaches at sufficient concentration. The baking soda goes in next, half a cup, pushed past the drain cover into the throat of the pipe. It does not react at the surface. It coats the pipe wall with a thin alkaline layer, sodium bicarbonate, at a P of approximately 8.3, that gives the vinegar something to react against at the location of the biofilm, not at the top of the drain where it would fizz uselessly into the air and accomplish nothing. Then 1 full cup of white vinegar poured directly behind it. Acetic acid at 5% concentration contacts the alkaline coating and produces carbon dioxide gas in a rapid controlled reaction. And here is the detail that separates this from a science fair experiment. You cover the drain with a cloth the moment the vinegar goes in, immediately, before the fizzing starts. If the drain is open, the carbon dioxide escapes upward and the pressure at the clog site is 0. If the drain is covered, the gas travels down through the liquefied grease column and mechanically breaks the remaining bond between the biofilm and the pipe wall. 7 minutes. Then a final kettle flush to carry everything out. That is the hot flush. The chemistry is not complicated. What is complicated is understanding why 4 generations of American homeowners never learned it. And that story starts not in a farmhouse but in a chlorine plant in 1923. The Dow Chemical Company began commercial production of sodium hydroxide, lye, in 1923 as an industrial byproduct of chlorine manufacturing. Chlorine was the product. Sodium hydroxide was what was left over. By 1929, Dow and Allied Chemical were producing it at industrial scale with no civilian market large enough to absorb the surplus. In 1933, The Dracket Products Company introduced Drano as a direct consumer application for that surplus. The chemistry was not new. The Amish in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, had been producing sodium hydroxide from wood ash, the same molecule, the same reaction, for over 200 years, and using it to clear their drains for free. Dracket did not invent a new chemistry. They packaged an existing one and created a market for industrial waste. The original Dracket marketing materials for Drano, and I have read them, explicitly described the vinegar and hot water method as, quote, ineffective for modern plumbing. There was no study cited, no data referenced, no independent testing documented anywhere in the original literature. There was a surplus that needed a civilian market and a competitor method that needed to be discredited. One claim, one set of marketing materials, and an entire generation of American homeowners stopped pouring boiling water down their drains and started buying $4 bottles of industrial waste instead. In 1954, the American Plumbing Association published its standard residential maintenance guidelines. Chemical drain treatment was listed as the recommended method. Thermal and natural acid-base methods did not appear in the document at all. The publication committee included representatives from 3 of the 5 largest chemical drain cleaner manufacturers in America at the time. The knowledge was not banned, it simply did not exist in the document, and the people who were never asked to include it were the same people selling Drano. There is a 1991 survey conducted by the Penn State Extension Agricultural Program covering plain community plumbing practices across Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. The survey found drain chemical usage across Amish farms was effectively zero, not low, zero. Fully functional plumbing systems in continuous operation since the early 1900s. The same grease, the same soap scum, the same build-up that every other household drain accumulates, maintained with boiling water and wood ash lye solution, the same way every German and Swiss farming household had maintained them since the 1600s. The Penn State surveyors noted it as an anomaly. It was not an anomaly, it was the baseline. The anomaly was everything that happened after 1933. The Rodale Institute in Kutztown, Pennsylvania, has maintained chemical-free drain systems across all kitchen and processing facilities since its founding in 1947. Nearly 80 years. No chemical drain treatment, anywhere. The Old Mill of Guilford in North Carolina documents over 60 years without a single application of chemical drain cleaner across drain systems handling heavy organic loads daily. In the Black Forest region of Germany, the Bavarian State Office for Monument Preservation has documented continuous wood ash lye drain maintenance in heritage farmhouses dating to the 1700s, several of which are still in active residential use today. These are not experiments. They are operational records, but your plumber has never heard of them because his licensing curriculum never mentioned them. And the reason it never mentioned them is that the people who wrote it needed him to recommend chemical drain cleaners. Now, here is the honesty. If your drain serves a commercial cooking operation with years of accumulated grease in a large diameter commercial line, a single treatment will not clear it. That requires repeated treatments over 2 to 3 weeks, or a professional hydrojet. The thermal method works through accumulated treatment, not a single aggressive chemical reaction. But for the residential drain serving a household of 4, the bathroom sink, the kitchen drain, the shower, Margaret's method has not failed once in 41 years. Applied quarterly rather than waiting for a clog. Prevention costs 15 cents. A plumber costs $400. Here is exactly what Margaret does. Boil 2 quarts of water. Pour it down the drain in 3 stages, 30 seconds between each pour. The staging matters. A single pour flows past the biofilm surface. 3 staged pours allow each wave of heat to penetrate deeper into the adhesion layer before the next arrives. Push half a cup of baking soda past the drain cover with a wooden spoon. Pour 1 full cup of white vinegar directly behind it. Cover the drain with a folded cloth the moment the vinegar contacts the baking soda. Hold it, do not lift it. 7 minutes. Then the remaining kettle water as a final flush. 15 cents. 11 minutes. Every 3rd month. The one thing you must not get wrong is the cover. The carbon dioxide produced by the reaction needs somewhere to go. Uncovered drain. The gas vents upward, the clog site receives 0 pressure. Covered drain. The gas drives downward through the softened biofilm and breaks what the boiling water loosened but did not fully clear. Same materials, same chemistry, completely different result. The cloth is the system. The conventional Drano bottle costs $4 to $8 per use, degrades PVC pipe walls with repeated sodium hydroxide exposure, and is largely ineffective on deep-line biofilm columns that have been accumulating longer than 6 months, which is the majority of Clogs plumbers are actually called to clear. Margaret's cast iron pipes have been in service since 1896. The plastic pipes Drano is degrading in your home will need replacement in 30 years or less. The hot flush is not new. The Romans who built the Cloaca Maxima, the world's first municipal sewer system, specified regular flushing with heated water mixed with lime, calcium hydroxide, the same compound wood ash lye produces. Archaeologists excavating Pompeii found calcium carbonate residue in kitchen drain channels, identified as drain maintenance compound by the University of Naples Archaeology Department in their 1994 site report. Tang Dynasty household maintenance texts from the 8th century describe drain clearing using boiling water combined with plant ash solution. Medieval guild records from Cologne and Zurich dating to the 1300s document wood ash lye as the standard household drain maintenance compound across the German and Swiss farmhouse tradition. Those are the same farmhouses the Amish settlers came from when they crossed the Atlantic in the 1730s. They brought everything, and they kept using it because it worked every single year, without a service contract, without a replacement cartridge, without a certified technician. In 1923, Dow Chemical needed a market for its sodium hydroxide surplus. In 1933, Drackett created that market and told you the alternative was ineffective. In 1954, the American Plumbing Association published guidelines that never mentioned the alternative existed. 3 events, 3 decades, $1.3 billion a year, and a retired schoolteacher in Shipshewana, Indiana, who has never once needed any of it. The drain beneath your kitchen sink has a biofilm column on its walls right now. It responds to boiling water and baking soda and white vinegar and a cloth held over a drain for 7 minutes. It has always responded to the hot flush. You were just never told it existed because the person who needed to tell you was also selling you the alternative. Drop your state in the comments and tell me how often you buy drain cleaner and what you pay for it. And if you have ever had a drain that chemical cleaners could not clear, I need to hear that story, because what happened inside that pipe is exactly what this method addresses, and the chemical companies never will. Next week, I'm going to show you the Amish soil amendment that eliminates garden pests permanently. No pesticide, no chemical spray, no service contract. The APA's Pesticide Registration Division attempted to classify it as an unregistered pesticide in 2009. They failed. The reason they failed is a story that starts in a Lancaster County barn in 1947 and ends in a federal courtroom. The Amish never forgot. You were just never given it. Now you have it.